The most famous man in Liberia has been defeated in the presidential elections. Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. My name is always KBA Japan, and thank you for joining me. If you're new to this channel, consider subscribing to the channel. Tap the bell notification icon, drop a comment, let's know where you're watching us from. If you like the content, don't forget to subscribe to the page. And as always, we've got good content, good stories for you every day. Let's jump straight into it. So the most famous person in Liberia is George Weah. We all know that this man rose from the slums of Africa to the high office of Liberia. He became the Liberia president. And before he became the Liberian president, he won the Ballon d'Or. That is the highest achievement in football. Yes. And he's in no person than George Weah. 6 years ago, he stood for his people to vote for him in the Liberian presidential elections, which he won massively. Yes, he got massive support from his people because he actually promised them, growth of the economy, sustainability. He promised them an end to corruption. And 6 years down the line, he's been voted out of office. One will ask, what actually prompted this action by the people? One of his key promises of coming into office was that he was going to end corruption and to bring economic growth to the locals. He also promised employment, and reviving of the economy of Liberia. But that has absolutely not been the case since he took office. And most people are disappointed by this action. In 2017, at his inauguration, when he won the presidency, he actually gave a very beautiful speech that most Africans even thought that this man was going to be a symbol of democracy, to be a beacon of somebody who is actually trying to fight corruption in Sub-Saharan Africa. But that hasn't been the case since the day he took office. At his inauguration, he gave a very beautiful speech, and he said, and I state categorically, "It is my belief that the most effective way to directly impact the poor and to narrow the gap between the rich and the poor is to ensure that public resources do not, and I repeat, do not end up in the pockets of government officials." This is what he said. This is what George Weah said at his inauguration, making a lot of people think that this is the man we are all waiting for. But under his tenure, there's been cases and scandals of corruption to the extent that he's been voted out of office. He went on to say that I further believe that the overwhelming mandate I received from the Liberian people is a mandate to end corruption in public service, which he is part of. We are told rapturous supporters, many of whom had survived corruption-fueled back-to-back civil wars in the 1990s and 2000, which killed more than 250,000 people. So there's a bit of history to this whole thing. Yeah, it's a bit of history to it. People voted him into office so that he could end corruption. From 2000s all the way up to, from 1990s all the way up to 2000s, Liberians have been suffering. And corruption has been one of the key elements in the Liberian society that they've been trying to kick out. You understand? So from the most popular person in Liberia to an ex-president. What a story. Now, under his tenure as president, there's been severe corruption in the banking sector, in the civil service, and all government institutions. One of the reasons why these people voted him out, I will read that part to you. He says, Weah refused to publicly declare his assets, despite doing so in 2005, when he first ran for office. So the backstory to this is that in 2005, he first ran for office to be president, which he lost. When he was running for office at that time, he declared his asset. But when he went for the second runoff, he refused to declare it. And his ministers and his cabinet members and all the government appointees also followed suit. Because if the head is not declaring his asset, who are the rest to do so? So the beginning of the whole thing started on a corruption note. Yeah, I'll put it that way. The beginning of the whole saga actually started on a corruption note. Because declaring your assets whilst running for office is one of the key things that politicians are supposed to do. One of the key and vital things that politicians are supposed to do. So if you refuse to declare your assets from the beginning, it speaks a lot about you and your presidency and the ideas that you're bringing on board, because right from the onset, you have not been transparent. Yeah, and this is what is killing African economies. The leaders are so corrupt that anybody who promises to end corruption when they come into office does the opposite. It's the case in Nigeria. It's the case in Ghana. It's the case in Sierra Leone. It's everywhere on the African continent. And sometimes you wonder what these people are up to. I think when they get into office, right, the power corrupts them. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Because most of these people, before they get into office, come with positive ideas. If you listen to their inaugural speeches and the portfolios they are putting across, you think that yes, this people or this person is going to transform Africa. I am highly disappointed in George Weah. Yeah, from a Ballon d'Or winner to becoming a president of a nation, Liberia, which has gone through lots of phases in its democracy, promising to end corruption and doing the opposite is below the belt. Yeah, totally below the belt. Totally below the belt. Now, there's a scandal also in his presidency. Lots of it. But one that we want to highlight is that just 9 months into the presidency, the Liberian press reported the alleged disappearance of 15.5 billion Liberian dollars. That is 96 million. Yeah. 96 million United States dollars gone missing. It just disappeared, just like that, into thin air. So why wouldn't the people vote you out of office? If I was a citizen in Liberia, why wouldn't I vote you out of office if you are not able to justifiably tell us, or we, the citizens, where these monies went to? Nobody is blaming you. We haven't said you've stolen it. We said, show us where this money has gone to. It's as simple as that. The Liberian people want to know where these monies have gone to. So from a national hero to zero. I'm sure he's made his millions, but who are we to judge? Most African countries and most African leaders are going through this. It's just that it's a case of Liberia, which is on today. Tomorrow, next week, next month, you're going to hear another African head of state doing the same thing as if it never happened in Liberia. You see, the leaders are taking the people for granted, and it's not just one African nation. Almost all the African nations, their leaders are taking them for granted. As I keep telling you people, one day the citizens will rise up. See, the people will rise up. During his tenancy as a president, Liberia dropped on the corruption index scale. They dropped. because the whole presidency was fueled with corruption allegations. Yeah, corruption allegations. From Ballon d'Or winner to the high office of the president, and then now out of office, former president of Liberia. This is a guy who came from the slums of Liberia. He wasn't born with a golden spoon. No. This is the guy who worked his way up. The guy who speaks for the poor. The guy who speaks for the ordinary. And now when he got to the high office of the land where it matters the most, he couldn't speak. He was voiceless. He was quiet. He didn't speak for the poor anymore. He didn't speak for the community anymore. The most popular man in the whole of Liberia. What an honor to have such a title, and what an honor to use that opportunity to transform the lives of your people. George, this is not how it was supposed to go. No. You have disappointed your people, in my opinion, and you have disappointed the whole of Africa. And for we, the football-loving fans, we are a bit disappointed as well. Because we thought one of our own could do it. But you did it. You are like the rest of them. Even maybe worse. Yeah. Like the rest of them, maybe worse. You see? A man you defeated in 2017, that same man has come back to defeat you. What does it say about your presidency? What does it say? This guy was a darling boy of Liberia and the whole of Africa per se, because he's the only one who has gone on to take the Ballon d'Or, and we respect him for that. But on the corruption front, on running of a nation, he failed. Thank you very much.